We are live at the Loft. I'm Terry Knight.
Kelly Guest, and we have Phil Wilson in the house.
Hello.
Phil is a former program director, once my boss for a little start of a time. Yes.
In name only.
Yes. I'm glad you said that. At WLTE in Minneapolis, and now you have been doing all kinds of things. You've sort of got your fingers in just about everything I can think of.
Yeah, I kind of consider myself a recovering broadcaster. So as a recovering broadcaster, I'm spending a lot of time trying new things and getting into the new spaces. And when I left WLTE and your company, I was compelled to stick around in the Minneapolis area. I didn't want to move for another radio job. So started hanging out with the online and new media people that are here in Minneapolis. And there's a very active community but not only media, but also programming and that sort of thing. So a lot of geeks, and it's been a very exciting kind of ride. So I've done a little social media, some online interactive marketing, also a co-founder of a company that works on user-generated content in music.
And it's called?
It's called Local Tone Systems, and the site that we have here in Minneapolis is Local Tone Radio. It's basically designed for the music community here in Minneapolis and surrounding Minnesota. Those interested that want to have their music heard, as long as they own that music, they're welcome to go to localtoneradio.com, upload the music. It goes into a stream right now with all the other audio that's in there, and it's streamed constantly 24 hours a day, simply as any radio station would be. The difference is that at Local Tone Radio, those people that use it and that listen to it have an opportunity 5 times a day to vote on the music they hear. So by voting on their music, that determines how often that song is played in the stream. So it's basically the crowdsourced version of radio, but the crowd is quote-unquote picking the hits. So they're the ones that determine the good stuff and the bad stuff, and that's how that runs. So that's Local Tone. And then also I have, and I'm in that with a partner by the name of Justin Gramitz, who is a musician himself and programmer. So he basically built Local Tone Radio to satisfy his own need to hear music from him and his friends and that sort of thing. So, and then I've also launched a Twitter API called Comic Twit, which is comedy for the Twitter stream. So, and there's all sorts of stuff that I'm doing. So. But mainly Remain Calm, which is my blog, and also consultancy is what I spend a little more time on as far as educating people in social media, interactive marketing, and that sort of thing. Is that a long-winded enough answer?
No, it's good. But I want to call out Remain Calm for just a minute. It's remaincomm.com, which the name is hilarious.
Thank you.
But your content is really great. I mean, I really enjoyed it, and you do that pretty much all by yourself.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that was when I first started getting into the online world, as you guys are finding out by doing more and more interactive stuff. The more time you spend just basically participating is probably the best education that you can get from it. And a friend of mine, I give a shout out to Steve Borsch, who's a friend of mine, also very instrumental in a lot of stuff that happens socially and interactively here in Minneapolis. He said, look, if you want to be part of it, you've got to get out of the seats and you got to get onto the arena floor. And that was Remain Calm for me, which was a blog. And I've always been enamored by communication. I'm a communication, graduated as a communication major, and am fascinated by how constantly the way we communicate as a society and interpersonally, it keeps changing. So that's really was the topic of the blog, and now it's also become sort of a little of everything as well.
It's really slick. It's really, it looks like an amazing amount of work. I'm sure you've gotten this thing down into a system that works for. When I first went there, how does he do all this stuff?
Oh yeah, it's so difficult.
It seems, but you're supposed to give it away.
Yes, you need to pay me lots of money to.
Help you.
Actually, it's. I wish I could say, and maybe there are those consultants out there who would like to tell you, yes, it's very difficult. You need to pay me $100 an hour to guide you through it. And I'm sure there are people out there right now that want to do that sort of a thing. But it's really easy to do. To get up and running a blog or on Facebook or anything like that takes maybe an hour to really get the basic stuff. And then as you learn and feel more comfortable, you get to tweak it and make it look better and, you know, customize it, that sort of thing. So.
Very cool. Well, I want to come back around in an entirely different, I want to take today local tone radio, and I want to talk about music and the progression to where you are now and backtrack to how it used to be. We'll do an entire segment here on that today, but there's so much to cover with you because I've only met you one other time, and it was so,
which is amazing. I don't know why, but yes.
I know we've been aware of each other for years, but it's so fun for me in particular to have a former boss, you know, here to sink hooks into where you can ask, you know, the questions that you couldn't when you worked for somebody. So we'll do that, but I want to go, when we come back, go into the state of radio, because Phil, I met you probably mid-January, about a month and a half ago, and things were in an uproar in radio in general then. And oh my gosh, this just happened even since then. So let's come back and get the take from somebody in the executive office position on, oh my gosh, what's going on. So Phil Wilson, Kelly Guest,
Terry Knight, and we'll be back in a moment.